Good morning, Big Ten fans. Welcome back to another edition of the Big Ten Morning Minutes. It is Friday, March 15th, 2019, and there isn't much going on yesterday at all on the gridiron, so bringing you a bunch of hardwood notes today. And we'll actually start off with kind of going over what happened yesterday and what I saw. I saw that Ohio State we'll start off as chronologically as the games went on. Start off with Ohio State. They obviously got Caleb Wesson back yesterday, and I think that was huge for them. They did a really good job in being able to incorporate him back after his suspension of 3 games. So I thought that was important for them. I think the game really was the at-large bid game, and the winner of this one was going to get that at-large bid. And unfortunately for Indiana, it looks like with a 17-15 record, although they do have a significant amount of quadrant 1 wins, the 15 losses just hurts a lot, I think. And I think that overall, when the selection committee is going to take a look at it, I just don't think that they'll be able to put Indiana in. I think they want to. I think that there are other teams that are going to be a little bit more qualified. They're going to get it over Indiana. I still can't, you can't put the nail in the coffin for the Hoosiers, but I do think that their chances are slim. And with a win there, I think that Ohio State is, I wouldn't say 100% lock to get into the tournament, but they're looking much better than they were a few days ago after suffering a couple of losses down the stretch without the big man Caleb Wesson. So we'll see what happens, but I think that Ohio State's got a tough one today against Michigan State. We'll see how that goes. It's the first game of the day, so we'll definitely be paying attention to that. Minnesota came back. They were struggling the first half. Penn State had a 4-point lead at the half, and then they came back to tie it in the second half, going into overtime, and eked out a 5-point win. I didn't get a chance to see this game, but I really thought that Minnesota going into it would win the game. I didn't think it would be this difficult. Penn State was scrappy. They kept in it. Minnesota had a chance to win it at the end of the regulation, and they just missed a pretty deep 3, about a 40-footer. So it was a good game. Interesting to see how Penn State will go forward. They did announce that Pat Chambers will return for a 9th season. 14 and 18 is not really going to get it done. They did have a good season last year, so Chambers did have that. And Penn State's not a big-time perennial team that's always going to make the tourney, et cetera, et cetera. So for them to get a bid once every 2 to 3 years, I think that's a quality for them. So Chambers has another couple seasons, as he did sign a year extension on top of that for coming back for next year too. So that'll be interesting to see with Chambers. But back to Minnesota, I think that they're firmly in the tournament with 20 wins. Although a losing record in the Big Ten, again, probably the toughest, deepest conference in the country. I've been saying that all year. And I think Minnesota should make it in. This one did not surprise me one bit. Nebraska is playing with 6 scholarship players, but the way they looked in the second half of the game against Rutgers on Wednesday was just absolutely fantastic, because they just, a light just clicked for them, and I'm sure Tim Miles is ecstatic at the fact that they've finally got things going. And to me, they've had talent, and you could see it, but I just, something just clicked, and you see that in tournaments sometimes. And I really thought that going into it, Nebraska had a ton of momentum, and Maryland was going to struggle, and that's exactly what happened. James Palmer led the way with 24 points. Very well done there for Palmer. And then the final game of the night, and this one was a blowout. The first game in the whole tournament that wasn't decided under double digits. Iowa was gangbusters against Illinois. The last time they played, it has been noted very widely that Iowa hit their first 10 three-pointers of the game in that one, and of course blew out the Fighting Illini. And this one was no different. The Fighting Illini just couldn't guard the Hawkeyes. Although the freshman Georgi Bihanishvili had another great game, 12 points and 6 rebounds, just was not enough. And then Ayo Dosunmu, the all-freshman Big Ten performer, he's got a decision to make. They asked him right immediately after the game, and a lot of times, it's hard to say whether or not that you're going to stay or you're going to go immediately when a season ends. A lot of players, unless they've had their mind made up, which typically doesn't happen in a scene like this, just because it happens so quick. Illinois, obviously at 12-21, is not going to a postseason tournament. So Dosunmu's got a decision to make. He's got plenty of time, though. He's got until the 10th of June, which is the final day to declare for underclassmen. So Dosunmu probably would benefit, I would say, from staying and playing a second season, improving some things here and there. I think he's a fringe first-round pick. Occasionally he disappears in games like he did yesterday. So I would look for, if money has nothing to do with it and I'm Dosunmu, I'm going to come back, develop my game for a year, and then most likely declare at the end of next year. But if he's got family concerns and he needs to start getting paid to play, I don't condone it. I do think that another season would help his draft stock, and he would be drafted higher, closer to top 20, top 15 next year, as opposed to fringe first rounder for this year. I mean, he definitely will get drafted, don't get me wrong, if he comes out this year. But I'm just saying that I do think that if he was to opt to stay for an extra season, that his draft stock obviously would improve, and he'd probably be making a little bit more guaranteed money with an NBA team. And it's a tough decision, though, and I don't blame him if he leaves. Again, I wholeheartedly support the player right to do what is best for them. And if Dosunmu wants to move on to the NBA, good luck, young man. I hope you do well. I hope you do great. I hope you have a good career. Some fantastic games again today. Like I said, Ohio State and Michigan State are going to crack it off at 11:30 Central. Nebraska, Wisconsin following that one. Minnesota, Purdue coming at the first nightcap, and then the final nightcap. You got a good one, Iowa and Michigan. I really like the set of games today. Like I said, there's some teams that are coming in and getting things going. The first one, Michigan State is favored pretty heavily against Ohio State, and I definitely don't disagree with that. I think the Buckeyes are a solid team, but Michigan State is a national championship caliber team. So there's a big gap in talent right there. Although it is the conference tournament, the teams know each other very well. I still think that Michigan State, it's got a lot more going for them. Plus, they returned Nick Ward, and I think that he's going to pose problems for Caleb Wesson down low. So I like Michigan State in that one. Nebraska and Wisconsin, I think that Nebraska is going to keep this one close. I just think that Wisconsin's depth at the end of the day is going to wear down Nebraska. Again, like I noted previously, they're only running 6 scholarship players at the moment due to injuries and suspensions and dismissals. So for Nebraska to go 3 days in a row and their guys are just getting, I know they're young, but their guys are getting tired. The team's getting tired. And I think that Wisconsin's depth will win out on that one. Minnesota and Purdue. I like the Boilermakers here. I think that Carson Edwards has something to prove. I think that they want to win this tournament. Although it's not a huge deal to win this tournament because Purdue's definitely in, and again, I think Minnesota's in as well. I think that Purdue's just, I think they just want it more. And then game of the day, in my opinion, the Iowa Hawkeyes taking on the Michigan Wolverines. I like Michigan. I think that Michigan is the best team in the conference, although Michigan State is ranked higher. And they won the share of the conference title with Purdue. I still think that Michigan's the best team in the conference, and I think that they beat Iowa. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think that it's going to come down to the last few minutes, and I think potentially Big Ten Player of the Year might take over. Who knows? I mean, he could, he might not. It depends. You could see Iggy Bredzakis take over. I mean, uh, there's plenty of guys that could take over. Xavier Simpson could take over. I mean, Michigan's got a lot of guys. Jordan Poole could take over. I mean, someone will take over. It looks like Charles Matthews is going to be able to come back and play as well. So that should be a very interesting game. I think that Michigan is going to do it on that end. I think that they'll end up winning. So you should see some good action in the quarterfinals today. And that's going to do it for me on this morning's Minutes. I appreciate the listen. Again, give me a follow on Twitter at MFC2123. On top of that, give the show page a follow on Twitter at 2 Cents Pods, and then like us on Facebook as well. We're going to be on some new platforms soon, so we should get a little bit more traction, and I appreciate the listen and appreciate the time. Have a great weekend, Big Ten fans.